Hello, hello. Welcome to our, what is this, our fourth
Or
Pandacast ever. Fourth, thank you. We are going to go over June and how our bots did at the June 7th NHRL. But first, arguably more importantly, we want to welcome Julian and Dima Papazian to Team Pandemonium. Their
Woo!
robots are respectively Mako and Turbo Fiend, and they're both absolutely
Mm.
terrifying. They're definitely gonna do a number for us. Very, very exciting to have them. Um, Not that anybody is unfamiliar with either of them, but in case you aren't, Mako is a two-wheel drive articulated saw, currently ranked first overall in Beetles, and Turbo Fiend is a two-wheel drive vert, currently ranked second. Julian and Dima have both been longtime friends of the Pandas, and we're super excited to have them as teammates as our team keeps growing very quickly. So, welcome, guys.
Hi, thank you for having us. I'm a big fan of
Thank you.
all of you, so I'm glad to be part of it now, officially.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. I definitely wouldn't be where I am without the assistance from some Panda members already. I would not have won a dumpster if not talking to and getting advice from Matt, Corey, and Alex in the same day. Um, Let alone the help I also get from Lyndon, Jillian, everybody. So just really happy to be here.
Happy to have you. Okay, so we'll start. We'll just jump right into the recap. I am going to start by picking on Julian. So Mako, as I understand it, went 2-2 with wins against above average and paw print, losses against SSP and Robbie. The thing that I wanted to ask you about. So Seth, famously, hell of a driver, hell of a builder, but perhaps as much famously, so are you. What was going through your head when you saw that first round bracket matchup?
Well, when you face a driver like Seth, and with SSP particularly, I wasn't worried about getting my bot destroyed by SSP. It's not a super hard hitter, but I was concerned about getting outdriven, and I knew he was going to have tough top armor because I knew he would have the weight for it. So I knew it was going to be a really good driving match, and he eked it out. It was a split decision, but it was so close and really really good fight. And he's helped me get into the sport with the SSP kit. So if I'm going to lose to anyone, I'm glad I can be him, and I'm glad it can be a really good fight. And I
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
wheel that cut up one of his wheels, and I've got it. So there's Seth.
Yeah,
Nice.
I fought Seth too. He's such a wonderful competitor, and he's such like a great guy to fight. Um, yeah, love him. Dima, uh, so Turbo Fiend went 2-2 as well with wins against Actual Size and Critical Blunder by forfeit, and then losses against Boopster and Murphy's Law. I was watching your fight with Actual Size, excuse me, on Breath Zone, and I looked away, and then I looked back, and suddenly Actual Size is snapped in half. How did this happen?
I'm glad I get to talk about that fight because I think that is like a career-defining fight for me. Weirdly enough, um, I was pretty scared going into that fight because I've never actually faced a big wheel before. I've never faced a huge
Mm.
like or anything of that archetype. The closest that I've fought is like Monkfish, and that's not the same bot by far. Um,
No.
so I was really mentally preparing for that matchup. So I really didn't want to lose in prelims, and let alone to I was 1-1 at that point, having lost to Murphy's Law. So this was my do or die moment for getting into bracket, and we had plenty of time. And they like the team. Shout out to Max Morningstar. Like did not mind that I was just sitting there staring at Actual Size for a while, and a bunch of points added up to being able to get that cracking in half moment. One, they have metal cleats in their wheels, so their wheels aren't as bendy as
Mm.
other big wheels where they have like those rubbery flexi wheels. And that robot, Actual Size in particular, is kind of made up of a bunch of gear trains in both the weapon and the drive.
Mm.
So there's a lot of points, like really big I don't want to say points of failure until you're hitting something really hard with it, but there's plastic connection points in that robot that I was just staring at, thinking, just if I break here, this might break. If I break here, this might break. This doesn't flex a lot. And then once I got in the cage, I got to have those moments where I would come in at their wheel, and then their weapon would be not spun up anymore, and I would have the opportunity to just go in. And I looked before the fight. Many people were giving conflicting opinions between your weapon can hit their torso, I mean their chassis, and your weapon can't hit their chassis. And that's part of the fight. I was really watching, like looking at the height. But once I got in under, and the weapon wasn't spun up, sure enough, I'm able to touch the weapon, and the weapon connector inside the chassis. You can see it flex a couple hits before if you watch really closely, especially on the mainstream. You can see their torso is bent already, and then on one last hit, it just cracked like that. A really spectacular finish, and I was really proud of how I drove that fight.
There's a crazy trophy from that.
Wow.
This was like I don't know where this came off of them, but like big piece of aluminum just all mangled from.
I think that was part of the bottom part of the chassis.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And I mean, watching you drive it's like watching a master at work. It's so incredible. So that fight was just a blast as a spectator. And I'm glad that it was equally enjoyable as a participant. Speaking of fights that were blast for spectators, not Alex. Cole went 2-1 with wins against Terror of Oakland and Wayo, with a loss against. Excuse me, Nightmare of Oakland. My apologies to the Nightmare of Oakland people. And Wayo with a loss against 5 Microliters of Blood. You won against Wayo. That was a really tense moment. How did that feel for you?
So, Wayo should beat Cole. It's like better designed. It's better put together. It's been competing for like a gajillion years, and it's really cool. I didn't put in nearly enough effort to be confident in getting under a super low shell spinner, and realistically, the matchup shouldn't go that well for me. I've seen a lot of matchups where shell spinners just absolutely demolish hammer saws. Like for Chunky versus Megatron has gone a couple different ways, but I think of like an iconic dismantling of Megatron. And I was like, that was sort of what I expected to happen that fight, where I'd just point the wedge at him, and he would hit the wedge away because it wasn't low enough. And eventually, it would go to a judge's decision. He'd get some like chunks out of my wheels, and like, oh well. But he had 3 or 4 fights that day, and in most of them, his weapon was spinning perfectly well. But he had been having some like programming issues with his AM32 setup, and I got the better end of that, where he spun up right at the start of the fight, and then the weapon spun down in the middle, and then it spun up again, and then it spun down, and he hit me like a couple times, and I thought the wheels would take a little bit more damage from that. The White Yeti wheels did not. I can't see your chat comments, Matt. But that meant that I had a couple of opportunities where he just drove up onto my wedge by mistake without the weapon spinning. And I wasn't fast enough for the first like 2 or 3 to spin up the weapon and get a hit, just like on my transmitter. I'm still not the best hammer saw driver. I don't have my controls down very well. There were a lot of times throughout the day where I tried to throw the hammer saw arm with my drive stick.
Yeah, Matt and I
doesn't work.
Infuriated.
Doesn't work. It just spins the wheels. Shocker. But like the fourth time that he just accidentally drove up onto my wedge, I did get the reaction in time, and I made like it's a great sound that it was just like a thunk, and like it didn't cut like terribly deep, but it did just like stick in there. And with YO, the robot is like that thick, so not terribly deep was enough to cut into the stator on YO. I don't know if my camera is picking up that Cole just like cut all of those wires from one phase. So I have the stator now.
Nice
And
work.
I drove him like stuck in his top plate, drove him to the other side of the box, tried to bring my arm out, did a couple things. Eventually the refs were like, okay, we're gonna try to separate you with the crowbar. They tried that for 5 minutes and then sent us to the hazard area. And I was like going upstairs to like get tools to take the arm out when they were like, oh, we pulled them apart, but we turned off the robots and all. And the judges gave me that win, which was crazy. It should not have happened. But I was very happy to have it because all week I had been seeing like, okay, if I do the same thing as YO in my first fight, I have to fight YO. That's a terrifying matchup. And it went my way. I
Yeah.
can't say it was all because of what I did, but you know, it was a lot of fun. Tim Bowens, shout out, great guy. We hung out with him a lot of the day, and you know,
Yeah, that fight was excruciating waiting for that judge's decision.
yeah.
And I'm very proud of you for this event. I think you did very, very well, and I hope that your confidence in yourself has been restored.
Uh-huh.
But we're gonna move away from our beetles. And I have some questions for Corey. So Synthesis 30 went 0-2 with losses against Demon Core and Professor Wasp. Even in the I guess a year or so that Alex and I have been on the team, Synthesis seems to have gotten just more and more reliable every single event. Like I remember the first event that I was with the team, Synthesis could essentially was like a single shot, like it had one big hit in it and then it would just sort of maybe the weapon would still work, maybe it wouldn't. And now you've gotten that to a point where it's super reliable. What has been like the most challenging part of making that increase in reliability like a reality?
So the parts that I'm actually making more reliable are showcasing the other parts that would fail if
Mm.
not the first set were reliable. Because the weapon can deliver its power. This event was the first time I've ever actually bent my own weapon shaft. When I fought Professor Wasp, they hit the nut that retains the shaft. However, the nut bent in one direction, but the shaft bent in a complete opposite direction.
Mm.
So it doesn't tell me that their hit caused the shaft to bend. And I also ended up cracking my own base plate in the process of hitting them. So it tells me that I'm finding weak points that I've never had prior. It's fun but frustrating because the parts that I've never seen fail are finally failing, and so it's
Mhm.
like that shouldn't happen. But you live and learn. Just get ready for the next one.
Yeah, it's like the further along you get, the sort of more the more vulnerabilities you discover. I actually had a second question for you, which was, so you've made Synthesis as a beetle in 8 pounds because of the colony, in 12 pounds, and in 30 pounds. What has been the most difficult part about like scaling that design? Is it, a completely different ball game beetle to 30, or have there been elements that you've been able to retain?
So the overall DNA has always been able to be retained. However, the actual the drive power in a beetle is significantly different than the drive power in a 30. So I'm trying to emulate it. However, trying to find a combination of what motor, gearbox, and ESC is able to replicate that in a larger weight class is becoming very difficult because you can throw your typical Beetle weight drive motor in any robot, and if you're stuck on your back, most of the motors have the ability to reverse. Now the robot's back on its four wheels, two wheels, or its base. For a 30-pounder, that's not entirely the case. I feel like I'm getting close, but it's mainly just kind of finding the power to weight ratio, I guess, to be very, very similar. Yeah, it's fun though. It's fun because there's emulsifier and there are other robots of similar size. However, we don't necessarily swap notes, so it's kind of learning for the first time type of thing, trial and error. And I find especially in the 30-pound class, people kind of tend to keep their notes very sacred because what works for them, they don't want other people knowing.
That's fascinating. It hadn't even occurred to me that the different weight classes might have sort of different like cultures, so to speak. And that's really interesting that they do. Um huh. Um I guess transitioning over to Michael into the colony, I guess question that I hadn't prepared, but I'm sort of tempted to ask now is like, what was it like for Michael? You're, as correct me if I'm wrong, a first time 12-pound competitor. What was it like making that shift from Beatles to 12s?
Well, I don't know. Put an asterisk by that because I've spent so much time in the 12-pound with miniing for Corey
Yeah.
that it actually felt a little more comfortable than you might expect. Um, so the hardest part was getting the weight right, I guess, and because I did something. I was really clever. I started a spreadsheet. I did all this stuff, but I forgot some elements like hardware, electronics. So I was about 2 pounds over. So and so it's just a matter of I don't know. I wouldn't put my journey going from a 3-pounder to a 12-pounder really in a lot of same category unless you've spent a lot of time in the bigger box because there's definitely a something to going into the bigger box. There's like it's a little daunting, but if you don't really think about it, it's just as I think it's a little bit more fun because you have actually more space to maneuver and try to execute your strategies. So
Yeah.
in that regards, I've kind of like it a little bit better than the threes because I mean there's like really good people in the 3 pounds that are just fast and dialed in. So sometimes getting good data from my robot, it just happens too quickly. And and it's like not really that data isn't really as good as I would like it to be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Kind of like match one with the colony. There was horrible. Okay. But I need to do this before I go one step further with this. I need to really shout out to my teammates, Alex, Matt, Corey, everybody that helped get. Okay, and this is what people should have seen last one. Okay, this didn't come together until 10 minutes before the first match, fail safed,
Wow.
and all of that jazz. So I had no time to drive. Little known fact, I've never had a robot that could actually gyro. So part of that learning curve in the first match was, hey, I'm going to turn. Boom. Oh, gyro, flop right in front of Blue Marlin, getting punted into Synthesis 8.
Yeah.
So it was fun because it lasted. And there's a whole lot more to this robot. This is so stripped down. for you guys that, I mean, you guys on the team know there should be a unibody, there should be a wedge, there should be forks, there should be a lot more than just this very, very basic thing. And that was it to get it to go. I mean, the belts weren't made, first time trying to make round belts and all that. So even going 0-2, the fact that it went like, you know, a minute in the first match to 3 minutes going to a questionable judge's decision, you know, hey, I'll take it because I got some really good data the second match, and it was a lot of fun to drive. I mean, sorry, Corey, I hit you so much. The driving is wrong. So, but it was just a lot of fun, and I'm gonna, you know, the upside. I guess I inadvertently made a 12, so I'm just basically going to. There's there's a lot of learnings from this, especially around making sure all my tolerances are right and stuff like that, because a lot of this was a nightmare because all of the parts, the tolerances were just a little off too much. It had to file some more prey, and maybe file and hit it with a hammer. So it was just the fact, honest to God, I really feel like this robot got into the ring at all was like pretty Herculean as a team effort.
Yeah,
So
I was watching it. I was watching it come together Friday night and then Saturday morning, and it was really cool to see everybody, you know, working it on it, helping out. I did want to ask you about that second fight. I know, you know, showing up with a new robot for the first time, you don't know if it's going to work. Um, and especially after a fight like that first fight, taking it to the judge's decision, taking it to a judge's decision is huge. Lasting the whole 3 minutes is huge. Like, how did you feel coming out of that?
coming out of the match, I felt pretty strong on what I saw, and I was pretty happy because I made it the full 3 minutes. And right at the end, right after the judge's evaluation, my battery died, which I was kept turning off my weapon throughout the course of the match to save my battery. Now, mind you, this is the first time I've ever driven this robot. Nothing's dialed in. Everything's going haywire. And I was just like going, okay, I need to make sure I can get there. And that worked out just enough. So I thought we had it. I thought it was a nice show. I think there was a lot of good hits and things that came of it. I'm really proud of the robot. I'm proud of my team, you know, and you know, whatever. Just hang tight for the 12, and the colony's going to be back too.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think is like makes Corey such a good like driving buddy for you? And then I'm gonna ask Corey the same question about you. Like you two have been driving together for such a long time. You're a dynamic duo. What makes that work so well?
Oh, geez. I just chemistry. And I think I don't. It's kind of funny because I was talking about it, and I think we talk a lot before the event. I mean, we can talk weeks before the event, and we'll look at tape and we'll like think things through, and we'll just talk and just I kind of think that we get to know what the other one's gonna do in an if or situation, you know, because we've had so many conversations and just, you know, built on that. I don't know, Corey, man.
Communication is
What do
key.
you think? That's my take, man. Other than that, I'll just say coffee.
Communication and caffeine.
Let's see. Well, first off, Mike with a weapon is scary because he just kind of. Where's the weapon going? I don't know because I don't even know if my teammate knows where the weapon's going. No,
I had
it
no
was a
clue.
lot. It was a lot of fun. Generally, the first time out is usually always the proof of concept phase. Like, I never expected it. Oh, hey, we won the event. It was more so just to kind of get the idea and feel for what it was like to drive with Mike with a robot of similar size. Generally, my first version always runs into weight issues, and then I'm able to dial it back. I ran into the same thing. I was just stripped parts off that effectively made it didn't made it to where it didn't drive and perform as well as I wanted to. So I have another idea in mind for what my entry will be, but you'll have to see in October. But overall, it was fun. Like you were saying, Mike and I have been driving, I think, since 2023
Yeah. something like that.
finals. Yeah, so it's been at least a year and a half. I think we have a very similar carefree mindset. We want to ultimately have fun, but we're not. If we were to design something to try to win, it would probably be your typical four-wheel drive vertical spinner. That's not, hey, we're gonna make a weapon second control bot, or we're gonna make this giant vert that can't drive. So, second showing will be better than the first. That's all I can say.
So it goes. So it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's gonna morph. You know what I
Right.
mean.
Sorry. Trying to keep my co-host away from the microphone here. I'm actually gonna. We might circle back to the colony in a minute, but I do want to get to our bot barons with 22 Inches of Monarchy and Overlord. We'll start with 22 Inches of Monarchy, which went 1-2 with a win against Lasagna and a loss against Grim Ripper 12, and arguably itself a forfeit to Buzzkill. It happens. Gremlins are unavoidable. But I did want to ask about that first match with Buzzkill. Like, what was going on there? Because the bot itself looked so good against Lasagna. What's going on there?
Yeah, so I'll say this. Going into the event, the goal with 22 Inches of Monarchy was to have fun, right? It's a admittedly very silly robot with a name that is very silly only in context. And, you know, it was very much a big weapon is going to hit really hard and then maybe kill itself, maybe kill its opponent. We'll see. Admittedly, during that first fight, or before that first fight, I let the pressure get to me. The robot has two power switches, one for weapon power and one for drive power. And then they both the electronic systems share a receiver that's powered by the drive side. We get down to the cage, and we're going to go turn the robot on. And I turn the weapon switch on, and I'm waiting for it to arm. And of course, it's not going to arm because the drive isn't on. I had forgotten this in the moment.
Oh no.
And went, oh no, the robot's not arming. I'm not going to be able to fight. Something must be unplugged inside the robot. I didn't even try to turn on the drive. And that's on me. I let the pressure get to me. And unfortunately, I forfeited it with a perfectly functional robot.
Oh no.
A rookie mistake, and you know what? It happens to the best of us sometimes.
Ducks in the chat. Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean,
oh, man.
I-
Viewers see that soundboard.
No, they
thing?
can't. That was completely contextless for them. But yeah, when you were passing it through safety, I saw it take a huge chunk out of the inner panel in the Goldie bot, and I got very scared.
It's a terrifying robot.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the one thing I do want to say about this robot is that when it works, it hits hard. The Lasagna fight, it was doing great. We lost the phase wire on the ESC, just got unplugged, so plug it right back in. It was ready to go for Grim Ripper. That Grim Ripper fight, if anyone has a chance to go watch it, because it was a loss, but it was spectacular. 22 Inches became a vertical Beyblade for about 8 seconds. And I'm telling you, that thing bounced to like 10 feet high. Or
Wow.
like, it was only 8 feet tall, so probably like 7 feet high. It was ridiculous. If I had come down on top of Grim Ripper, I'm not sure they would have survived. However, we did lose a set screw. The weapon motor pulley came off, and the robot could not self-right. So, and end of the day, started off not great, ended spectacularly. It was a good day.
That's what we like to see. That's what we like to hear. We're looking for. Well, I'm very much looking forward to the return of 22 Inches of Monarchy. It just seems like so much fun. do you want to move on to Overlord? So Overlord went 2-1 with wins against Jump Rope, which is Austin McCord's robot, and Anxiety with a loss against Undertaker. So Jillian, when are we gonna get the Bot Baron's Anxiety? You have basically a whole Anxiety worth of trophies from that fight.
Well, we already had the small version in Vanguard,
Yeah,
but I didn't expect to be given this many trophies
that's
for
crazy.
kind of dismantling the robot.
Yeah, when I was watching that fight, I was sort of going like, "Oh no, this isn't." But I had, I went into it knowing the verdict, so it was a similar moment to Dima's fight where I looked away because I was at work for like a second, and then I looked back and I was, "What happened?" Anxiety kind of exploded. Like what? How did you feel going into that? Anxiety is formidable. How did you feel coming out of that, having completely systematically dismantled it?
It was a mix of nervous, but also kind of knowing what to expect. We fought Prince without a wedge against horizontals before. The bot will hold up. It's just, will I win the fight? I got a few lucky hits off the start, hitting their side, hitting their back, and it pulled out just one too many screws and started to send pieces flying.
Yeah. All it takes is one too many screws. Okay, well that is actually everything that I have prepared. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Actually, Michael, did you want to talk a little bit about your podcast project?
Oh,
Or
yeah, okay. Yeah, honestly, we
plug it.
Corey, plug it. We do have a podcast under the same name of the colony, and it's Corey, Mitch, myself. Soon to have a couple more added in. We'll wait for that announcement after I confer with the team on when we should announce that, because and we just kind of sit around for about a half hour. We kind of pick out a topic relating to combat robotics, or just something around it, and just talking about it for a half hour. It could be anything from preparedness to, what was our first match like, to, what are some of the challenges that we've had to go through. And just, I feel like it's a good way to, I guess, just humanize like who you see on TV, and just,
Yeah.
and also not put a whole lot of pressure, because so many podcasts are like, well, what about this rule or that rule, or, did your robot do this? And this is more like, hey, what'd you have for breakfast? Come on, what you got? What was your car? What's your favorite video game? And we find out, like, people like Corey, Mitch, and myself have no reason to have this commonality, but we all play bass. And for some reason, yeah, right. Or we did it one time in our life. So we find that we find out more about each other, and I just think that's really a bonding experience. So, and it's really, we can talk about anything from, like I say, robots to I don't know, what's the weirdest thing that we've talked about? Ferrets?
Ferrets.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. And that's not weird. A lot of people love ferrets. I shouldn't alienate ferrets. But yeah, and it's just kind of like it a lot of times it's just a reflection of what we may have seen from at a recent competition that we might want to talk about on the subtly.
I love it. I love that. I love that it's like it's a different format, and not, another robot podcast. All the robots do make an appearance.
Yeah, yeah, and it's all, and also being able to kind of like laugh at ourselves and laugh at each other and have a good time.
Yeah. Love it. Exciting. I didn't have an outro scripted. But that's That's really it from me. If anybody has anything they want to get off their chest, some like detail from a fight that we didn't get to go over, I see the floor.
I mean,
Alex? Oh, go ahead.
October's in a few months. What does everyone have planned?
Mm.
Like upgrades? Are you competing in October, November? Anything you want to share? I mean,
Yeah, thanks,
whoever wants to
Corey.
take- no problem.
October Norwalk's like 4 events away. I don't know what you're talking about. Man.
What was like
Well,
six?
Like
I mean,
Yeah.
you guys compete every week, so
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we do it
Lyndon,
twice
I
every
don't
week.
know.
So at last event, there was in like the children's play area, there was like a draw your dream robot section, and of course I drew my dream robot, and it was advertised to me as NHRL might make your robot a reality. So that's totally
Oh.
what that's definitely what I'm bringing to October. So what it is a half sphere with Omni wheels on the bottom and some kind of skirt lifter all around it.
Oh, neat.
I'm down for this.
This sounds like Turbo Friend V2.
The
This sounds like an
insane.
octopus. It sounds very fish.
Yeah,
Happy
his
octopus.
name's Bobo Buddy. What were you gonna say, Julian?
Yeah.
I love it.
I didn't even know about this, but I like it.
Yeah, I did it. You were rushing me out with NHRL, and I was like, hold on, and I literally turned out, went bam, 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 drew the whole thing in like 5 seconds,
This is
and then went
important.
back upstairs.
No,
So,
we can make
Alex-
this happen. We can make this happen.
I made thinner ones.
Woo!
Ah,
I'm not gonna run to the belt sander with friggin' TPU parts anymore. That's awesome.
Yeah, okay. The story behind it is this is the spacer for my motor for my weapon, and I made it too thick, and I had none others. And Alex is down on the belt sander.
Wash your shims are your friends. That's what I use
Yeah.
to tension my.
It was
weapons.
just like it's just too tight on the spinner belt. Even I could tell. I don't do belts. I don't do belts for this exact reason. But I could tell that belt was too tight. And Julian
Alex,
confirmed.
is Cole or Zane coming back or any time in the rest of the year?
No plans for Cole or Zane to come back this year actually. Schedules are heating up. We might have a robot we bring to a local event or two for Ellie. But that is still in the works. And we're gonna run it when it's ready more than like rush it to a specific event. We're hoping for the next Fitchburg event, but not gonna put any pressure. Cole is up to 5 different front end configurations and 2 different weapon configurations right now. So I need to get those numbers up. The point of this current version of Cole is that I can do just like a ton of like crazy designs, and it's really easy to just put it on the robot at the event if I feel like it. I think I need something more than a conventional hammer saw. I think we need
Regular saw.
to branch out.
Here's a hot take. I think more configs is worse. I think you're
I
better
agree.
off having like 2 or 3 configs really dialed in than having like 15 different configs for every situation possible.
So you're correct, but it's more fun to build new things than to refine old things. And if it's the same bot, it kind of counts as refining, but kind of doesn't.
Alex's mom said there's no way he has ADHD, so just want to note that.
So
I
I,
mean,
don't even have
essentially-
to,
No, go ahead.
I don't even have to ask Julian and Dima. I know you both are going to be signing up for October.
Oh yeah. With the way the lottery works, there's a very low chance our beetles will get in. But I'm using this time as a break to brainstorm and build either a 12 or an 8-pound robot. That's my goal for the year, to get into the bigger cage. Even if I get my butt kicked, I want to make that happen. And now with like the 3-month break or whatever, got some time to save money, some time to focus in on a design, and we'll make it happen. I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet, because even though Mako is like my premier robot, like I love all sorts of robots. Like I love big verts. I love Zane. I love Stag, even like more control robots. So you know, we'll see. I'll make something happen.
Eagerly anticipating October. Hopefully we'll get the chance to go down as spectators, but we're not currently planning on bringing anything. So it'll be fun.
One of the other things I'm working on is organization. Your friend.
Love it.
Ooh.
And this
Yep.
fits inside my travel case. I'm going to make a couple more. And of course, you know, very good. Should
Take notes, Alex.
That's good.
all for $10.99. I mean,
Yeah. Well, you see, I worked on Chubby Unicorn, so I think I'm actually good. My organization's all right.
He's not even here. He can't defend himself.
No, but his robot does have connectors, Kevin, and Jaren. All right. Should we shout out the sponsors and sign off?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
All right.
the sponsors.
Right. We have to like
Those
earn
are
our
important.
franchise. All right. So we'll shout out. We'll
our
shout out
conglomerate
Overture.
empire.
Big shout out to Overture. We have our is it our affiliate link or our code? I think it's our
It's an affiliate link.
It's our affiliate link. It helps us out. Also helps you out because Overture's PLA is what basically all of our robots are made out of, and that is never. Well, a lot of our robots are made out of it. It's basically never the problem.
Not PLA. Don't make your robot out of pure PLA unless it's
Nobody
plastic
gave
can,
me a
in which
script.
case use
Don't do
the
that.
Super
Don't listen
PLA
to me.
Plus.
Don't listen to me. I don't know
PLA
what I'm
plus
doing.
is
I
great.
just have a
Super PLA
master's
Plus
degree in
is
English.
great.
My apologies to. I'm gonna get canceled. I'm gonna get canceled. We're witnessing the downfall of me right now.
Yeah.
Overture TPU. Yeah.
This sound effect is so
This is
long.
this is just like slowly.
Okay.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for
Kevin
being
should have
here.
cut us off earlier.
This was- yeah.
Do, 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 do.